everyone. Welcome back to the Art of Living Well podcast. We are here in my living room and we are both so passionate about today's topic, which is 10 powerful actions that will boost your longevity and keep you vibrant throughout your life and into your old age. And we want to talk about why longevity is really about thriving and not just surviving, because so many people are just surviving today and we want to thrive into our hundreds.
Yeah. And I think it's hitting us especially right now because of our age, right? We're, in our 50s.
I'm turning 52. You're going to turn 51 next month or soon.
Soon. Maybe by the time this episode drops, we've already would have had a birthday. And our parents are, in their 70s and 80s, and people around us, our friends, and you're hearing of different individuals that, are getting different illnesses. And Marnie and I both talk all the time about how we want to live to 100 and thrive until we're 100. We want to be out there being active and living this really full, vibrant life. And we see ways that you can do this with starting now, even if you've done nothing to prioritize your health and well-being at this moment. There are things that you can start doing that are really simple. A lot of them are free or very, very inexpensive, and it can truly transform your life. And so we want to help you wherever you're at on your journey. Add some new habits or just try some new things. Get outside your comfort zone a little bit because it will help you thrive and live longer and more vibrant life.
So as we go through these items today, we want you to really think about what small, consistent action steps can you take today so that you will live a longer, healthier, and more vibrant life. And so as you're listening to us, just maybe even jot down, if you can, something that you could start right now.
And the other point I want to make, and we're not going to dive too much in this today, but just the concept of epigenetics. Because a lot of people out there will say, my genes, I'm predisposed to diabetes, to high blood pressure, to cholesterol. Your genes are only a small part of what makes up who you are today and how you're living your life and how active and healthy and, just happy you are. Your environment and your actions and what you do every day. So if you're out there and you maybe do have high blood pressure or high cholesterol or, even diabetes or maybe your, onset diabetes, it's okay because we're going to talk about things today that can help you make changes so that you don't end up with high blood pressure and, for the rest of your life or whatever the situation is. So I just want to say that it's not just your genes and that there is hope out there and there are things that you can do. And that's what Marnie and I are very passionate about. And we've taken courses on this very specific topic and we can help guide you. So if this is of interest to you as you listen to the episode today, reach out to us. You can come on our show and do a health transformation audit. We can help you get unstuck wherever you're at. You can sign up for a consultation. All the links will be in the show notes and learn more about functional medicine lab testing or supplements.
Or coaching, if you just want coaching from us. Yes. And we love doing that. And we also, of course, have our quarterly vitality reboot programs too. So any of these things are great options for you to dive into longevity and learning how to take some steps toward those goals.
Yeah. And this is risk-free. All of this is risk-free, right? Take 15 minutes, prioritize whatever it is you want to focus on and have a conversation with us off air.
Going into our top actions to boost longevity, the first thing we're going to talk about is strength training and muscle mass. And I think that so many women do not do this. And it boggles my mind. Okay, for those of you in your 40s, 50s and beyond, and even younger, of course, but this is so important. And so many women are cardio, or just walking. And those things are great, but we need to build muscle. We lose so much muscle as we age. And that, that leads to osteopenia and osteoporosis and a whole host of other issues that can lead you down a path that you don't want to go. So,
and it's really one of the, your strength is one of the top predictors of your longevity is your mobility and your strength. Because think about it. If you're older and you're frail, if you fall, and how many of us know of young people, old people who fall
and break a hip or whatever it is.
Yes. And then you're in rehab for weeks and you can't move. And the healthier you are and the stronger your bones and more muscle you have, the easier it is if you do fall that you're going to recover.
And a way to check and to see where your bones are at is to get a DEXA scan. And we highly recommend this. I was actually talking to a friend last week who had never heard of DEXA scan. And I was so surprised. And she was telling me that her mom has osteoporosis and she still had never heard of DEXA scan. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you should go get a DEXA scan.
Yeah.
Like you want to know right now at your age where your bones are at, because you can change that. And strength training and, increasing your weight level and load is super important as well. And we need to be doing this multiple times a week.
Right. So it's, how often? 2 to 3 times a week, even just 2 times is great. It doesn't need to be for an hour each time, but you do want to hit all major muscle groups. And, those classes that have really light weights or
the 1 pound pink dumbbells are not going to do it.
They're not going to do it. And not to say that you shouldn't do that. And you have to start somewhere. So if you are just using 5 pound dumbbells right now, that's great. But you want like heavy bearing, so that if you do like 8, you are almost exhausted, right? 8 reps. So this is not about doing like 30 reps of a lightweight. We're talking like full strength heavy weights. And there's a lot of free resources out there. There's a lot of videos on YouTube. We'll try to link a few of them up for you guys that, need some resources out there. I know sometimes it can be overwhelming. If you can find a trainer to work with even once or twice, just because form is so important and you don't want to get injured.
Yeah. Ideally, if you can follow some sort of program so that you are increasing that load and changing it up, because your muscles do get used to like the same thing. If you are doing the same strength routine at the same weights that you've been doing for the past 5 years, you probably need a change.
Right.
So, and another what I thought was interesting predictor of longevity is your grip strength, right?
Yeah.
And I remember we went to the Reimagining Health Summit 2 years ago. And they had everyone going in and testing their grip strength. And I remember yours was like really strong. Mine was not as strong. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to work on my grip strength.
Yeah.
And I bought like the tool, which we can link up in the show notes that you can get on Amazon and check your grip strength. And then I've just been trying to lift heavier weights where I'm really using my grip to increase the strength basically.
Right. And it's a strong predictor. It just reflects your overall muscle, right? Just your overall functionality. So your muscle strength and doing the strength training is also helping your metabolic health.
Right.
And you are getting your heart rate up when you're doing it. It's not cardio. And we'll talk about that. Like Marnie said, walking and jogging and doing cardio is excellent, but also for different reasons. So,
and then your metabolism is, revved up when you're lifting weights. And it's actually then for the rest of the day, you actually burn more after lifting weights, which a lot of people, I think, don't know that or understand that.
Right. And it helps regulate your blood sugar.
Yep. There's so many amazing benefits to building muscle. And we want to be strong, powerful women, right?
Like, do you want to, again, I use this example, like when you're trying to put your luggage in the overhead bin, and not that there's anything wrong with asking for help at all, but do you want to physically be able to do that most times, right? So absolutely. It could be a goal. Part of this is just functionality. It's not about how you look, but it's about how are you going to be able to walk through life with just more vibrancy and vitality.
If you want to increase your grip strength, one thing that we did hear about is that you could take some stress balls in your hands and just squeeze them as little exercises for your hands and wrists and everything. And then, carrying groceries is great. Like Stephanie said, your suitcase, maybe you're not doing that as often. Though. So, instead of sending your groceries out in a cart with the person that's working there, maybe carry your bags out. And so think about that. Let us know how your grip strength is.
And, I'm just thinking about blue zones right now, because that is what screams longevity for me. And, if you think about when you're in Europe and you're going to the grocery store more frequently and you're walking to the grocery store, potentially even up a hill or down a hill, there's those little old ladies and men that are carrying their, 2 or 3 bags of groceries every day because they're going frequently.
Yep.
And they're walking, and that's their workout. So it doesn't need to be like going to a gym if you live somewhere where you can do that. And a lot of people don't, but that's how they improve their grip strength. That's how they improve their cardiovascular health and their muscle mass, right?
Yep. So, should we talk about VO2 max and cardiovascular health?
Yes.
Because I feel like that is another big one.
Mm-hmm. And we do want to have someone on to do a deep dive into VO2 max a
Yes.
bit.
And that's something that I have personally been working on to get mine up higher. I've had my VO2 max tested twice now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're wondering what that is, you go into a center and they put on something over your nose and your mouth and you're like hooked up, and then you're on a treadmill and they basically have you run until you're like exhausted.
You're gassed.
It's not fun. It's really challenging.
Yep.
But it does give you really good information. And I think Stephanie and I both learned through this whole process with our 29029 is that zone 2 training, which I had never done before we did the 29029, really helps you build your base, right? So your aerobic base. And I think we've talked about zone 2 training before, but you're training at maybe at a lower intensity where you can talk while you're working out. And then, you're doing that higher interval or higher intensity training at a much smaller length of time, like maybe, 30 seconds to 2 minutes. You're just gassing yourself out. And most of the time you're working at that zone 2 level.
Right. So, I mean, it also just like helps with we talked about like recovery and stress and focusing on your VO2 max and how well your body is using oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
And, do you want to think about it? Do you want to be getting out of breath when you walk up a set of stairs or no? Like those are indicators of longevity. So just starting small, just, start to like, maybe you go on a faster walk, or I know those weighted vests are really popular right now. Maybe you buy a lightweighted vest to try to help with improve that cardiovascular strength, or you have a piece of equipment that you can control the speed and you go a little faster, like Marnie said, for 30 or 60 seconds.
And you could even be running outside. You could be taking a jog outside at your steady state and then say, okay, for 30 seconds, I'm going to do an all out sprint. And then I'm going to go back to my jog. Like, you don't need to buy anything actually to do this.
No.
But it is really crucial for longevity and for your heart.
And we mentioned the blood sugar, right? So when you eat something, especially a high carbohydrate food, and your blood sugar rises, the best way to get that down really quickly is to move your body.
Take a walk.
Yes. And you don't want huge blood sugar spikes, and we'll link up the episodes, but we've had quite a few experts on talking about this. So we won't dive into it today. We had someone from 2 different CGM companies really dive in and talk about blood sugar, and that you don't want to become insulin resistant. You don't want to obviously get diabetes. And so
we want to have our glucose be stable.
Yes.
We want to keep it stable so that we can age really well. And one of the ways to do that is by prioritizing protein and healthy fats and fiber. And we want to, like Stephanie mentioned, if our glucose is spiking, your glucose is going to spike when you eat. Like everybody's glucose spikes when you eat, but it's how fast you bring it down.
And how high it goes. So if you're eating, just pure sugar, it's going to spike a lot more than when you're eating even sweeter whole foods like sweet potatoes or, rice or pasta or anything like that. But you do want to be mindful of those spikes. And like Marnie said, prioritizing protein, eating fiber with your meal, eating greens before you eat something like a pasta or pizza or something that has more refined carbohydrates in it will really, really help. And then, like I said, we had a couple experts on talking about these, but potentially wearing a continuous glucose monitor, which are those patches people wear. You may have seen people out with something. They may be diabetic, they may not be. And it's really good information to understand how your blood sugar is impacted by what you eat. And everyone is different. And so the only way to truly find out how quickly your blood sugar is spiking and how quickly it drops is to wear one of these.
And I think it's super interesting. Like Stephanie said, everybody's different. But when I wore one, and we've both worn them for various amounts of time, to really see what foods spike my blood sugar and what foods maybe aren't the best for my body and what foods are okay. Like I remember you said you couldn't eat bananas, but for me, bananas are fine. And for me, sweet potato really spikes my blood sugar.
Sweet potato and even black beans for me. Even like legumes, as much as I like them.
Yeah. So it was really interesting. And I think, you don't need to commit to doing this for a year, even 30 days
1 month
gives you so much knowledge. And maybe it's every 6 months you do 30 days or once a year you do 30 days. But I think if you do decide to get a CGM, recording the trends that you see is super important because that's how you can learn and make changes based on what your body is telling you.
Right. And I mean, we saw it firsthand. And I know I've seen with my clients, if they just change the order of how they eat, or they take a 10 or 15-minute walk after, or run up and down your stairs, or chase your kid or your dog around, whatever you want to do, move your body so that that sugar, your muscles are using it, the sugar, instead of, in your blood. And then the insulin has to be produced in order to clear it. Yeah.
So sleep. Sleep is such a huge tool for all of us and such a predictor of longevity.
And why is that?
Well, I was just going to say really fast that last night I got a 94 on my Oura Ring sleep score. I was so excited.
Awesome.
I love when I get the crowns.
Yep.
I'm very motivated by that. I've been working personally on getting my deep sleep numbers up because they needed to be higher. And I just really excited about it. And I feel great when I sleep so well. And sleep is so important because our bodies are resting while we sleep and digesting and rejuvenating and doing all of this super important cellular repair in our brains. And it's just so critical. It's critical.
It's critical. And when we eat too soon before bed, our body doesn't have then the energy to focus on all the millions of jobs that it has to do to repair at a cellular level because it's digesting food, for instance, right? Or if you drink too much late at night, then your liver has to process the alcohol and whatever. So we talked about an evening routine recently and just some of the things. So we'll link up that in the show notes as well. So you can focus on getting that deep restorative sleep and why it's so important. But it's probably one of the top tools and action steps we're going to talk about today, and it's completely free.
And as we've talked about in the past, matching your circadian rhythm to the light. When it's light outside, wake up. When it's dark outside, wind down. Very simple, right? And the screens, shut those screens off, turn on airplane mode, turn off your Wi-Fi, just shut yourself down at least an hour before bed and really try and do some restorative activities.
Yeah. And just find something that you enjoy doing that you don't take the time to do. And I actually recently started just setting an alarm like an hour before bed. I'm pretty good about my bedtime, but then sometimes I don't get to do those things that I want to do. So just set an alarm for whatever it is, some sort of self-care, something that's calming.
Magnesium is helpful.
Yes. And melatonin.
Melatonin can be helpful.
I do take melatonin. Actually, in the last year, I started taking it much more frequently. And I have to say it really does help.
Well, and I've noticed that the magnesium and the melatonin help me get into that deeper state of sleep. So if you have questions about that, please reach out to us. We're happy to discuss that with you.
And do a supplement consult.
Yep. And we can link up in the show notes the products that we're taking.
Yeah. So what about just like stress? Because, and we're going to talk about this on another episode, but Marnie and I recently did an evening bedtime cortisol test, which is just a simple saliva test that you take like an hour before you're going to go to bed. And I've done it now like 3 different times and it hasn't gotten any better since the last time I did it. And it's still pretty high. So that's going to be a priority for me for the next several months. But when you go to bed and you're stressed physically, emotionally, your mind is racing, you're thinking about all things you need to do, you're worried about your kids or your job or friends or whoever. Yeah, it's not good. And it really does impact your ability to get a good night's sleep too.
And it impacts your aging.
Yes.
So when we're stressed, we age faster and our bodies, I think they're finding more and more that stress is directly related to dis-ease in the body.
Like major disease.
Which is frightening because like Stephanie said, my cortisol level at night wasn't great either. And I feel like I'm trying so hard to do all the things and I still have this like stress in my body.
Well, and it's also not even just stress. It's like your emotional resiliency. So if you're storing like could be literally like childhood trauma in your body that's at a cellular level that you haven't been able to release. And maybe you haven't told someone about something awful that happened. I mean, that is also impacting longevity and aging.
And breath work is something that helps. And, a lot of us just don't want to take the time to do that. And meditation, I've been in the evening, like closer to bed, I've been doing my legs up the wall. I got this new thing called Sensate.
Yeah, we have to.
Which
Talk about that.
Which is like almost like a necklace, and it sits right on your chest and it vibrates with music, with like calming, relaxing music. So I've been just starting to do that, and I'm trying really hard to get my HRV higher, which has also been a challenge. I think it's all related.
Yeah.
And I do feel like it's kind of a pain to like put on the necklace and attach it to like, it's not a pain, but like,
it's just one more
thing
step
to do. But I am trying it. And I have noticed that when I really like the vibration here. It feels really good.
Yeah.
And I also think that afterwards, I'm really calm and relaxed.
Okay.
But then what's been happening is then a kid will say something to me, or I'll get a phone call, or like something will happen and I'll be like, all of a sudden I feel my cortisol going right back up. So I need to figure out how to hold on to that feeling, not just have it for the 10 or 15 minutes that I'm trying to calm my system down.
Okay. Well, we'll report back because
the transition hasn't been great yet.
Okay. Also, just being outside in nature can be very calming.
Yes.
So, you don't even need to buy something all the time. I mean, especially as the days get longer, maybe you spend some time in the evening after dinner outside, and that's very grounding for you and calming.
And happy place.
Yeah. And just being with other people, if you can, or maybe you're calling a friend or FaceTiming a friend or something if you're not with other people in your home on a regular basis. But just feeling a sense of purpose and community, it can be very calming.
Absolutely.
For people, which also helps with longevity. Again, going back to the blue zones, that's one of the key tenets of the people that have lived to be 100 or older is that they are in community. They're with family members. They're not isolated by themselves. And, it's like you can't figure out like which of these 10 factors is going to be the, golden ticket for you. It could be a variety of things because we're all different. But certainly being around people that you feel good, that you feel like you can talk to and share what's going on, so that you're not storing up those emotions and tensions and stress in your body. You're able to talk about it and release it. Mm-hmm. That is going to help you for sure.
Absolutely. And I think having, a phone call, even like you mentioned, a daily phone call with somebody. It could be anybody. It could be your mom, your sister, your daughter, your husband, like spouse, partner, like anybody. Right. Just having someone, like you said, to unload to is important. I was thinking about this yesterday. Like in the United States, I feel like we have a lot of things wrong, but
we won't go there right now.
We won't go to all the things that are wrong. But one of the things I was thinking about is like in other countries, their elders or their parents often will live with them. Yeah. And I'm not saying I like want to live with my parents, but like even, having your parents next door or, in some countries that your parents live above you and then you live in like a space below or however it works. Yeah. I think there's something to be said for that. And even for the children to grow up around the wisdom of the grandparents and maybe the aunts and uncles. And I don't know how we got so far away from that here where we live.
I mean, that's a big piece of this. Mm-hmm. So what about overall just detoxification and toxins, which we talk about quite a bit, especially with our, Vitality Reboot, which is also a liver detox, and that will be coming up soon. And you can always do that, by the way, if you ever want to kind of do it on your own. We have a self-paced program that you can do anytime outside of the 4 or 5 weeks that we run the community program. Think about like cancer and all these illnesses and autoimmune conditions and just like allergies, things that like, impact your quality of life and your longevity. Toxins speed up the aging process.
And, there's toxins in our environments, in our food, in our air, in our homes. Like there are so many toxins we're exposed to. So we really do want to have a process that we go through regularly to eliminate toxins from our bodies. And as we've mentioned in the past, our livers can only take so much. Yeah. So when our livers get overloaded with so much toxic,
we're talking glyphosate in our food and the chemicals and the BPA and, the artificial ingredients that are in so many of our foods. There's toxins in the water and, like you said, in the air.
And so, when the toxins start to overflow or overload our bodies, that's when you see all kinds of issues coming out. You know, it could be in your skin, it could be bloating, it could be brain fog. There's so many different things that our bodies are trying to tell us that there's something going on inside. And so we really want to focus on eliminating toxins as much as we can. And maybe that looks like clean drinking water or clean air in your home or the products we use on our bodies.
Yeah.
You know, they say that women use like 100 different chemicals a day or something on your body. Like that's frightening, right? So like, how can you go through and look at what you're putting on your skin and in your hair and the makeup you use? And I'm wearing makeup. I mean, I like makeup and I like beauty products. And so I've been on a search to find non-toxic or clean beauty. And it does take a little more effort. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I just want to buy this. But then I'm like, is it worth it?
Right.
It's probably not worth it.
Yeah.
So I think that the more you can slowly start to replace things with clean beauty.
And think about like just the cleaning product, you know, start with those items that impact you the most. So I would say water and air, like the water that you drink, the water you cook with, the water that goes on your skin every day, which is your largest organ. And, you know, things can get absorbed right into your skin. So focus on that first. And then, you know, you focus on like maybe lotions and products that you put on every single day and that you put on over a good part of your body, right? And reach out to us. We have a ton of episodes covering these topics. There's a lot of different products that we both use and love and trust. I mean, even just like Branch Basics, for instance, and we had Kelly Love, the founder, on a few years ago now. And I actually was watching the Today Show yesterday and the whole gang of them. So it's Kelly, her best friend, and her aunt that started Branch Basics.
That's amazing.
It was so cool to see them on the Today Show and to hear about their journey. And they had health conditions that they were literally able to reverse through cleaning up. A lot of it had to do with the products. And that's what motivated them to found Branch Basics. So it's a great story. And we'll link all these episodes up that we're talking about. This is real. You know, this is not just us like making up some things and the companies out there that are promoting clean beauty. There is an absolute reason for it. And just as further proof before we kind of move on here, you know, there are, gosh, how many? There's like, I'm blanking on the number of ingredients that are banned in Europe. And also, I think in Canada that are not banned in the United States. So just because something is out there in our stores does not mean that it's safe for us to be using. And so if you're focused on longevity, then this is, you know, another action step that we're encouraging you to make.
And I just want to reference one thing that still sticks out in my mind. And it was episode 101 with Branch Basics. A tip that I think anybody could go do today is to take your cleaning products. If you have toxic cleaning products in your home, put them in a paper bag and put them in your garage or put them in a cabinet outside of your house. Because I remember her saying how they can still do damage to you, even if they're sitting in your cabinet, in your kitchen.
And you never use them.
In your laundry room. And these are products that you would rarely be using anyway. Get them out of your home and into the garage or into a space that you're not in very often.
And we did that at our house because there were a few things that my husband was like, well, we need this for whatever reason.
Yeah, right.
Maybe like a bug killer. I don't know. Just those products, get them out. And we have a container in the garage and everything else in the house is completely clean and safe. And how do you know if something's, you know, harmful? If it has the label on there that says like, if you swallow, like call 911 immediately, or, you know, there's some of those labels on there. That's a warning sign
toxic,
that it's toxic. You should not be using it. Certainly not on any sort of regular basis. And it should not be like under your kitchen sink.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even mosquito sprays.
Yes.
In the
garage, lot of them are.
Because you can like smell them. We used to keep them in our mudroom and I could like smell the DEET and like the, Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So
on to like nutrition and fasting.
Yes. So there are so many studies coming out about doing a fast and how that can help your cells repair and turn over. And I find this super fascinating, especially considering I really don't like fasting.
Yeah.
But I think that there has been enough research now that even doing a 1-day fast, naturopath Dr. Stephen Cabral, he says from dinner to dinner. I think he does Sunday night dinner to Monday night dinner. You break the fast at dinner on Monday. It's so good for our bodies to do that. He does like that
autophagy,
weekly.
cleaning up ourselves,
Yep.
right?
It's like our own little personal cleaning man.
Yes. Yes. It's like running your dishwasher, you know, so to speak.
And so it's something I need to focus on more personally. Even if I did it once a month, I think it would be good. And it's, you could potentially have like the DNS shake during that fasting window, and it still would be considered a fast. Mm-hmm. So there are ways to do it and not feel terrible.
Right. But just start. If you're not doing a 12-hour fast right now, it's actually 12 hours is really easy. Mm-hmm. So you stop eating at 7 o'clock at night or whatever time it is, and you don't eat again till 7 in the morning. I mean, you're sleeping for most of the time. So it's really easy. So start with that. Do that for a few days or week or however long. And then maybe you figure out what's a sweet spot for you. Like for me, 14 hours is good. And, on a daily basis for the most part, but I don't typically go over that. And, Marnie and I are both very active, and right now we're training. So you also have to listen to your body and understand, like, what are you doing from a workout standpoint? And if you are really active, then going more than 12 hours maybe doesn't work for you.
Right. It depends on your season in life and what's happening in your life. And it's very individual, like everything.
Right.
And, like we mentioned, we have our Vitality Reboot, which is quarterly, and you get in a solid 2.5 day fast with that. Right. And that's really good on our bodies every quarter. So join us and we will guide you through it. Yes. And it makes it so much easier that way when you have a cheerleading squad like us behind you.
Right. And you have some accountability and you have coaches there. So if you have questions or you're feeling symptoms and you don't know what to do, we're here for you pretty much 24/7, except when we're sleeping, because that's important to us.
So inflammation is another big one, right?
Yeah.
And we want to reduce inflammation always.
And it's, the chronic inflammation. So inflammation is good when you burn yourself and you have the burn right away there, like your body is working to repair. But when it's chronic and you're feeling pain and suffering and whatever the symptom is every day or on a regular basis, that is what we're talking about here. And so
I was just going to say, I love how Dr. Cabral calls it inflammaging.
Yeah.
It's so powerful, right?
Yes.
The inflammaging. Yep. Like, yes, we're inflamed and we're aging.
Right.
So
what can you do to reduce inflammation?
And obviously eating a healthy diet, right?
And we won't go into that today because I feel like we've talked about that.
Yep. And sauna, which is another thing we've talked a lot about.
Yes. And that also will get rid of the toxins that we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Cold therapy is also helpful.
Yep. And even what we just talked about with the fasting can be super helpful.
Yes. Because it helps with that autophagy, giving your body some time to do all these important jobs and clean up, if you will. And if you think about it, most cultures and even religions had some form of fasting. Mm-hmm. They all have. Or naturally you were fasting because you were like hunter-gatherers and you just didn't have any food in the winter, or you had very little food in the winter. So our bodies were not designed and evolved to be eating, 20 hours a day like we do, because their food is so readily available.
Right. Absolutely.
And the type of food, I think that honestly, the type of food that you eat, eating just more whole foods, eating lots of plants is going to reduce inflammation.
Yep. So hormones are a huge topic with aging, and everybody's talking about, women and midlife, even men too. Mm-hmm. Like our hormones decrease as we age. And we are going to have an expert on talking about hormones, but it's super important to try and understand where you sit and where your hormone levels are, because if you don't know where your hormone levels are at, it's really hard to address what's going on in your body. And you could say, oh, well, I'm, gaining weight around the middle because I'm 50. Right. But is that really why you're gaining weight around the middle? Let's get to the root cause and actually find this out and find out what is going on in your body.
And I do think so many women in the mid 40 to 55 plus are just like, oh my gosh, this perimenopause is killing me. And then they start taking different products that they see on Instagram or that their friends are taking. They have no idea what their levels are. And to be completely frank, if you go just to your normal doctor and you just don't ask for specific levels, they're maybe going to test like your FSH, your follicular stimulating hormone, right? And they're not going to test necessarily all of them. And it's really important to look at your estrogen to progesterone ratio as well as those individual numbers, because you could be normal in both those. But when you look at the ratio, you could still be off. So that's where like we do functional medicine lab testing. And a lot of the tests, honestly, you can't get most conventional doctors to do as part of like your normal checkup.
Right.
And these are at-home lab tests. It's like simple blood prick or saliva or urine, and they're very, very easy to run. You get the results. We review them together. We come up with a protocol for you. So would love to, if this is something you're interested in, reach out to us, and the links will all be in the show notes, and you can sign up for a quick consult so we can talk about what tests may be helpful for you, especially from a hormonal level.
And, there's a lot of talk about hormone replacement therapy. Should you, shouldn't you? And it's really personal and it's bio-individual. And again, you need to get those hormone levels tested. Right. So you could even think about some of these options.
Exactly. Well, I think finally, and we kind of touched on this a little bit, we round out this 10 list of action items to help you live longer and more vibrant. It's just like purpose and connection. And we talked about more like the connectivity and having people in your tribe, if you will, but just having meaning and purpose. And what I see so much in my individual coaching practice and what we see when we're coaching people is that they don't have meaning and purpose. And then they tend to start to like look outside themselves. And that's when people are spending a lot of time scrolling or spending hours just like watching TV because they don't know what actually brings them joy. And they're not doing an activity on a daily basis that makes them happy and connects with other individuals. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. And then they realize they're spending 3 hours a day, like, and no judgment, but gaming, scrolling. I mean, those things are addictive for a reason. So it's not your fault, but I think people are so disconnected from themselves, I guess.
And you may not even be scrolling. Like a person may just be in their head all the time.
Yeah.
And like you said, focused on the external or focused on what other people are doing. And if you can find something that is engaging to you or that you're interested in learning about or joining a community or a group, it's so helpful for our well-being and to have something to look forward to each day. And I tell my kids this all the time, like you need to make it happen for yourself. Yeah. You can't wait for somebody else to plan something for you or to invite you to something. You have to, this is your life and you're the only person that can make it happen for you. And if you don't like the way something's going, or you wish it was more like this, or you wish it was more like that, guess what? Then you need to figure out how to take the steps so that you can do those things. And I think it is really important to have things to look forward to, even in your day. Like today, it's sunny out. It's like bluebird skies outside. I'm looking forward to getting outside and walking, getting that fresh air that brings me joy. Yeah. And maybe I'll call a friend. Maybe I'll walk by myself and just be with my thoughts, but not in a bad way. It's just quiet time. So I think the bottom line is we need to have a purpose. People that have purpose live longer. People that have meaning in their life, they live longer.
Yep, they do. And I think, like Marnie said, we can individually, we control ourselves. And instead of ruminating on the fact that, oh, maybe all your friends got together and did something, or they were at a dinner party, or they went out of town. If you want to have a dinner party or you want to go out to dinner with friends, invite some people, right? Like you make it happen. And we all think sometimes that everyone else is doing a bunch of stuff that we're not invited to potentially. And everyone's doing, has plans on the weekends, or not necessarily. Because what happens is you will throw out an invitation and you'll realize that like, oh, look at all these people that are just sitting around, almost like waiting for an invitation. But sometimes it just takes you to make the initiative, or you want to join a pickleball, you want to learn pickleball or whatever new sport it is. Do some research, find some people in your community that you could hook up with or connect with. It's so, so important. And reach. And again, this is another area where if you're feeling a little stuck in this area and you don't know where to turn, to come on and do a health transformation audit with us, because we can walk through your very specific circumstances and what's holding you back and figure out a way for you to get connected with people and just have some things to look forward to. And I think also there's a lot of people, in our lives, Marnie, that like maybe you're 5-10 years, maybe 5 years away from retirement, and they have invested like everything in their kids, in their job, and they don't have a lot of other things that they do outside of that. And it's really important to start to find these either hobbies or passions or interests now before you hit that retirement.
Career even.
Or a second career, right. And maybe a hobby or a passion becomes a second career.
Mm-hmm.
And start to think about that now so that when you are retired, you're not just like sitting around, staring at each other, if you will.
Absolutely. So I know we just threw a lot of items at you, but we really want you to live long, fulfilling, healthy lives. We want to see you be 100 years old on the floor with grandchildren, with pets, nieces, nephews, whoever.
Right.
We just playing pickleball, doing all the things you love to do. And so we will challenge you today to pick one or two of the habits or actions that we spoke about and see what you can do this week.
Yeah.
And get back to us and let us know. And we also invite you to join us for a 7-day vitality reboot because we believe so strongly in this program. We've been doing it for years now.
Yeah. And it's single-handedly, I truly believe, like the best, whether it's a reboot, a reset, and it's really empowering for you to realize that you can do something like this. I think a lot of people are intimidated by it. And I know Marnie talked about like the 2.5-day fast. You don't have to do a 2.5-day fast. Most of the time now I do like a day and a half and then I decide to break my fast, whatever it is. So don't be intimidated by the fasting part because you can actually not do the fasting part and still reap a ton of benefits. So,
and as I think about, what's one longevity habit that maybe I'm going to commit to this week, I am going to try and do one of those fasts where I just do a dinner to dinner fast because I haven't done that in a long time and I'm going to do it.
It's funny. I've had it in my calendar now a couple times that my husband and I are going to do it and we haven't. So maybe let me know when you're going to do it. Because I think the Sunday to Monday is actually a good time, which is when Cabral does it. Like have dinner with your family Sunday night and then have dinner again
Monday night. And like Mondays are so busy for me usually. And so it's actually a really good day for me to just not have to worry about food.
Exactly.
But I can't be training on that day. So it has to it'll happen.
Yeah.
So have a great day, everybody, and reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.